I got some details on Loki Season 2, and does Marvel have a beef with director Kate Herron? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and Loki wrapped up its first season, revealing that it's just a first season. There will be a Season 2. And I have some information about Season 2, but also this dropped this morning in the trades, and Kate Herron, the director and EP of Loki, who came and pitched this series, she said something interesting. And so I went around and asked some sources, and it does seem there might be a beef here between Kate and Marvel. Now, I want to break these quotes down, and you can take your own, take on this. But let's see what she said. The quote in question here, as Deadline reports that she's not returning for Season 2, which, let's be honest, is odd. Unless she's working on something else Marvel-related, which she's not. This means something, guys. So here's the quote in itself, asking if she'll be returning. I'm not returning, the UK filmmaker told Deadline. I always planned to be just to be on for this one. And to be honest, Season 2 wasn't in the... Well, that's just something that came out, and I'm so excited. I'm really happy to watch it as a fan next season, but I just think I'm proud of what we did here, and I've given it my all. I'm working on some other stuff yet to be announced. Now, it's the way she says this. Now, again, there could be... Was there a Season 2 always planned? Yes, I'm told there was. So I think anybody who reads this quote wondering, is she sort of revealing, well, that Season 2 wasn't in the cards. What is she saying here? And to be honest, Season 2 wasn't in the cards of my hiring, wasn't in the cards creatively. A lot of people might take this quote out of context. I can tell you, though, Season 2 was always a plan. I've asked a couple sources to confirm this, and yes, they were always planning to continue the storyline. This was not a one and done, and as you'll see with the plans of Season 2, and I think as you see as it ended, there was clearly more story to tell here with these characters. But if you go and actually read the full interview, and not just she's not returning here, she gets a little bit more into depth of what's going on. I'm going to come back to that, because the fact she also reveals here at the end why I think there's a beef, and also I'm being told there's something there. There's some bad blood there, whether someone was unhappy for some reason. She says, they asked, will you be involved in another Marvel movie? No, I'm just focused on my own stuff at the moment. I love Marvel, and I'd love to work with them again, but my outing with Loki is what I've done with them. Can you tease anything about Season 2? I don't know anything about it. I feel like we've done an amazing, set a lot of amazing groundwork in setting up the TVA and Loki on a whole new journey. Yeah, what will happen? Where is Loki, and where will he go? She's clearly no longer involved. Now, given that this film show was such a success, that is strange that she's not back involved. I mean, it doesn't mean that there's a beef, but it seems like there's some sort of something went awry. Someone's not happy, whether this is a try to play to get more money or respect or whatever. All I know is she's not coming back, and it doesn't seem like she's involved in Marvel at all. Now, what's happening in Season 2? Well, I don't have a lot of details, but I do know that Loki himself, Tom Hiddleston, obviously, as well as Mobius, as well as Sylvie, and as well as Kang, Jonathan Majors, are all set and signed to return for Season 2, along with Rayona Rayslayer, which, again, spoiler alert, potentially, if you've never read the comics, you may not know that this is coming. If you've read the comics, you may suspect this is coming, but I can confirm that something is coming. I will... just mute this portion, and I'll wave my arms when you can unmute the portion and close your eyes for a second. But spoiler alert, potentially, Season 2 will feature, yes, Ravonna Renslayer becoming a lover of Kang the Conqueror. That happens in the comics, and I'm told, yes, she will. Her and Jonathan Majors, whatever variant version, whatever thing they're doing, there will be a love story aspect of it, and it kind of would make sense that she's his wife in a way, and that they are connected some way. That does make sense given what we've seen at the end of Season 1, so I don't think it's that much of a shocker. But yes, there is a history, and if you go look into the comics history of Ravonna Renslayer, the judge character, there's a lot of backstory there of her portraying other characters and her playing as Kang Nebula, with all the variants and things going. There's a lot for them to play with in this world with these characters, and potentially offer some backstory, some reasonings, and everything. So now coming back to now, spoiler alert's over. Spoiler alerts are done. Coming back to, was that really Immortus? Now, while Kate Herron is not coming back, she's proudly doing interviews and talking about the work she did do. And she answers questions about, was that really Immortus? And some other stuff about the season I want to break down for you guys in this interview. So Deadline asks here, well, we all know Jonathan Majors is playing Kang in Ant-Man. Fans were quick to point out that Kang is a variant of He Who Remains. Is Majors' character in the finale, but is Majors' character, He Who Remains, really Immortus? Is Major portraying Kang in the season finale? Here's her official answer. Kang is a variant, but he's also not technically Immortus. It's a bit like Sylvie, right? She's a unique character in relation to our story. He Who Remains is in the comics, but the version on our show is very different. He's closer to Immortus, but he's a unique character for our story. But Kang is a variant of that character. So I'm assuming Kang, the statue we see at the end of season 1, is a variant of that, as He Who Remains sort of alluded to. It does seem like, yeah, we're going to get multiple characters featuring played by Jonathan Majors. He Remains says he was 21st century scientist who discovered the multiverses. Is that character connected to Nathaniel Richards of the Fantastic Four? That I cannot answer. I don't know their plans. It's a question for Mr. Feige. I don't believe she doesn't know. She has to know, but she can't say, obviously, for obvious reasons. Will we see season 2 before Ant-Man 3? I have no idea. Kevin Feige question. She's gotten good at just sort of pleading the fifth. Was this always the intended ending for Loki season 1 to have He Who Remains as this puppeteer of time, or were other architects floated at one point, i.e. Tony Stark or Dr. Hank Pym? Herron, I remember when I started, there was discussion, but honestly, the writers, Kevin Wright, our executive producer, said He Who Remains was the person they met at the end of time. That was always our North Star we were going for. Really, for us, the bigger question was, would we be allowed to do this? It's such a big character to be launching. It really informed everything across TVA, whether they were good or bad. The cut we have of the show is the best cut. Interesting how she's saying that, meaning there was other cuts of the show. He Remains, was he looking to start another multiverse war, or was he really this Willy Wonka mentality? Oh, kids, I'm so tired. Why don't you take this whole operation over? I had that same comparison. He felt like, is he just an evil Willy Wonka? What's he doing here? Here's her interpretation. My interpretation is that it's this good and bad thing. I believe him when he says, wait till you meet my variants. And you see the fear in his eyes. The TVA has done terrible things, but is it a good end? But is it to a good end? Probably. It's not a good thing that Sylvia kills him and opens up the multiverse, because we're going to meet these other variants of him. In my head, anyway, I think he's being genuine in that moment and honest with them. And just to pause there, that's why I ultimately turned in my review. I missed that nuance in the first viewing, and when I saw it again, because I thought he was a little flighty and crazy, and I was like, well, this is a weird villain. But I was sort of half asleep, as I said in the first review. That's why I re-reviewed it and watched it again with sleep. And I could just tell there was a lot more nuance and confusion and almost like nervous excitement that Jonathan Majors was offering, that I appreciated a lot more the second time, that I did actually enjoy the character. I know some issues people have been having issues on him, how Loki isn't the 2012 Avengers Loki, how they sort of fast forward his emotional arc. Fair criticism, total fair criticism. Anybody out there is ignoring that, I think you're lying to yourself. I was able to get over it, and I think a lot of Marvel fans clearly were too, but fair point. But I'm glad she's pointing this out. Yeah, in my eyes, I always think he's being genuine in that moment. He's being honest with them. That's so beautiful in Jonathan's performance, but wasn't so key in the character. Obviously, for the first half, Loki and Sylvie are trying to suss him out. Can we trust this guy? That is inevitably what leads to the unraveling of Sylvie and Loki's relationship as well. So yeah, I mean, pretty much he answered what I figured, and that he was sort of both. He's like, he doesn't know what, but he wants to do it. He really was more of the Willy Wonka, the sort of crazier version, even though Willy Wonka is pretty crazy in the movie too, about what's going on. Can you talk about Jonathan Majors' approach to the role? We're used to seeing him in these heavy, dramatic parts, and here he is, flamboyant and free. Was that always the approach to the character? It was really with Jonathan. When we cast him, I was talking to him with the studio about the role, and something that was cool for us all is that psychologically, He Who Remains has been on his own for a very long time. This is someone who has been isolated, but he's been running this huge thing, and it's a lot of responsibilities. So that was this fun thing that that was finding the fine line between the extrovert and the introvert of that character. How does he show that he's been living on his own? That was fun as well. Digging into that aspect of the character, and it echoed across our production design. Me and Kashra were really excited about the idea that the office was really polished and really pristine. He finished that space because that's where he spends all his time. Whereas you go to the other aspects of the sphere, it's broken down, it's not maintained because he's not living in those spaces. I think it was fun little hints like that, how shut off from the world this character has become in order to almost maintain the world that he can survive in. Which, again, important to remind you, that variant of he who remains is surviving. It's the only, because he's able to create this universe where all the other variants of his Kang character have been pruned, along with other things, to keep a master timeline that wasn't really the master timeline. No, it was the master timeline for him to remain in charge and keep things going. As Sylvia even says, or I guess not, Judge, sorry, as Renslayer says, there is no free will, only that who controls it. So she clearly knows, well, I want to be with the guy who controls it, I think is what's clearly we're on our way to get to in season 2. So are you returning for season 2? This is where we get back to what we already sort of reported on. No, I'm not returning. I always planned to be, just for this one. And to be honest, season 2 wasn't in the... I guess she's... I at first, when I read this and I see some other people sort of, oh, they didn't have a plan. I think that at first, season 2 wasn't really in the cards for her, is what I feel like she's trying to say. But then she's catching herself, because anytime you talk about these shows, you have to be careful of revealing. Is she even allowed to say there's a season 2? That's something that just came out, and I'm so excited. She's sort of correcting herself. And I think the Marvel secret speak. So I don't think there's nothing in here to sort of imply that this is something new that happened. I think there is something, though. I mean, there's something on here of why Kate's not coming back. Either she was unhappy, she's unhappy about something that happened. Marvel's unhappy. I don't know why Marvel would be unhappy with her unless there was some bad blood throughout the shooting or frustrations creatively. That can happen. But something else happened here. I don't know how the scale of it, but yes, there's some bad blood level happening between Kate, because given the success, you'd think Marvel would want to lock her down. They're pretty good at locking directors down and getting them involved in other stuff if they, are successful. Kevin Feige doesn't seem to like letting good talent go that have started and helped create these things. So interesting to see this. I'm curious what you guys think. As for season 2, are you guys excited? I wish they would do something. I said this on Twitter. I wish they would do sort of a Marvel Sliders. I'd love to see sort of a few episodes of Loki doing sort of live action what if scenarios throughout the multiple universes. What a cool opportunity to sort of extend and delay it maybe a little bit and give us a version where he's trying to get back or find something, but then you get a version. If you guys remember that show Sliders, which is they go through the different dimensions, alternate worlds and things, a Marvel Sliders could be really cool. I mean, we're getting that pretty much with What If, but to see Loki as the character with almost the remote trying to get through and find out which universe is the right universe could be so much fun, and you could have the coolest cameo opportunities, and it'd be expensive, but I do think that'd be a really fun experiment to do for at least a few episodes. What do you guys think? What do you want to see for season 2? We will get the full cast back, it seems. More of Kang is definitely in the cards. I suspect we'll get it before Ant-Man 3. We shall see, though. Stay tuned, though, for more coverage. If you want to make sure you're in the know, hit that subscribe button, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, but also the bell for all alerts. That way you get notified. Otherwise, YouTube doesn't really share this stuff. Smash the like button for me and leave a comment down below to help the engagement. Just to say, hey, Andy, nice video. Anything works. Any of the creators you watch, help to engage. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.